Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be painting HIve Fleet Kraken, the OG of 2nd edition. Yes, HIve Fleet Kraken. I'm going to be painting up one of these new Termagants from the Leviathan box, and as you can see I have primed this white. So let's jump straight into the painting, shall we? So first thing first, what we're going to do is we're going to be base coating all of the flesh skin areas with Screamer Skull. Just add a little bit of water to this, and you just basically want to get around and get into all of those flesh areas. Now if you do make a mistake at any point during this, especially when we come on to the red armor panels, just add a little bit of white over the top of where you've made a little bit of a mistake, and just come back in with the Screamer Skull. So yeah, thank you very much to everybody who has supported the channel so far. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do. We are definitely ramping up, and we're sort of going to be slowly closing in on that 3,000, and the channel is just growing, and it's just absolutely super crazy. As about 75% of my viewers are not subscribed, so it would be amazing if you could hit that button, like the video, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future content. But now that I've plugged myself, let's get back into this. So using Mephiston Red, we're going to be going all over all of the armor panels and base coating them with the red. Just take your time, and like I said, if you make a mistake here, just go back in with some white and just go over it, and then put the Screamer Skull over the top. The reason why I haven't done anything on the skin yet is obviously because we are using red, and red can be a bit of an issue. But yeah, it's really good. I have a lot of fond memories of playing 2nd edition as a kid against my mates' HIve Fleet Leviathan army. I say HIve Fleet Leviathan, it was HIve Fleet Kraken and Bearmoth. It was kind of like a mishmash of colours. It was kind of cool. And obviously, if everyone remembers 2nd edition, the HIve Fleet Kraken colours were actually reversed. Their skin was red, and their armour was sort of like a creamy, bony colour, which was kind of cool. But obviously, they switched this around. But they are the OGs. They are one of the older HIve Fleets that have been around for a long time. And yeah, so that's why we're doing these now. Not too sure which one's going to be next, but it's kind of cool that I've got 2 of them done now. So once you've gone around all this model, what we're going to do then is we're going to go into deep shading it and soft shading it, and really getting those panels sort of standing out a little bit with some shade. And what we're going to do is, before we get into that, we're going to do the skin. So we're going to use Skeleton Horde contrast paint. We're adding a little bit of water to this just to thin it down a little bit. If you don't want to use water, you can use contrast medium, and then all I'm doing is going all over all of this flesh areas and just making sure that it doesn't pool. Just take it stage by stage. So I'm doing the arms and the legs here, and then I'll tidy up the brush and then make sure it's not pooling, and then I'll come back in and do the rest. And again, if you make a mistake when doing the red, white, Screamer Skull, and then just go back over with the Skeleton Horde. You could, if you wanted to miss out the first stage, just go straight for Skeleton Horde. But I kind of like the Skeleton Horde over the Screamer Skull because it kind of gives you a really nice colour that you can work off the top of, and it's really cool. So once that's done, allow that to dry, and then you can crack on with the next. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be defining these armor panels with some soft shading, and we've got some corn red thinned down. And what we're going to be doing is basically, it's almost like a glaze, but it's a wash. It's like a wash glaze. It's kind of in the middle of both, and we're going to be pulling that color into the deeper sort of recesses. And as you can see, I'm just sort of going round into all the recesses of the armor and in between the armor panels, and really sort of defining that. Once you've done that, add a little bit of black to it, 50-50 black, corn red, and then go back around and do all of that again, and that will really define it. Just make sure that each layer is fully dry before you do the next one, otherwise you'll just make a big, horrible, muddy mess. And then finally what you want to do is just get a little bit more black into that, and then really sort of focus in on the sort of panel lines between each armor panel, and that will really make it stand out. And as a gaming piece, you could pretty much just base coat the claws and the gun now, and pretty much run this like this. So you could literally stop at this stage and it will still look pretty decent on the table. You've got all your colors on there and job done, you know, move off. But if you want to just sort of push it a little bit more, feel free to watch the rest of this video and we'll get there. So as you can see, looks pretty awesome, and just working around, just making sure that you get all of those little panel lines done and dusted, and then we're going to start highlighting that up and bringing up that cool little sort of stripes. So we're using Evil Sun Scarlet first, and as we did in the previous video, the HIve Fleet Burn-Off, we're just going to be doing lots of little thin lines pulling to the edge of the armor plate. Every now and again I will go round and put an edge highlight in where I need to put an edge highlight in, but the vast majority of this is literally lots of little thin translucent lines, because the paint has been thinned down a little bit, and just create that sort of liney texture that the Tyranid armor is quite famous for. And then once you've done that, we're going to be moving on to the next color. So there's me just doing that little edge highlight around the front, just to keep that in. So once you've done that, we're going to be going in from some Wild Rider red, not orange. I always say that it's orange, but then I get shouted at. And again, it's exactly the same. Add a little bit of water. Now, the coverage of Wild Rider red is pretty bad, so you don't really need to be putting too much water in. So if you do it, if you go over it one layer of all these little lines and it doesn't look bright enough, then just let it dry and then come back over and do it again. The multiple lines over the top of each other will sort of create that opacity, and it'll also create sort of multiple lined layers over the top, and it'll look kind of cool. It's kind of how you do things like marble and stuff like that. But yeah, just build up the color and just be careful with this, because like I said, it's not the best of paint. There are probably other brighter oranges out there on the market with better coverage, but I just don't understand what it is with Wild Rider red. It's just really kind of naff when it comes to coverage. So just work around all the armor panels and pick out all of those areas, and then we'll go on to the next color, which is Troll Slayer Orange, another notorious color for being pretty naff when it comes to coverage. So right, once that's done, and again, just add a little bit of water, and just like you did with the previous color, if you need to go back over any of this, just go over multiple times until you feel happy. The main thing is that you allow each layer to dry fully, and you make them nice, small, thin lines, and that'll bring up that sort of textured type, sort of line, Chichuran armor look that the Tyranids are famous for. It also can be done at this stage where you really sort of push the edge highlights on the edges of the armor. So not just on the flat panels where the little lines are going to be, but really sort of make sure that you get the edge highlights along the side and the edges of the panels as well, because you really want to push that the definition of these armor panels to make them really stand out, because this is like one of the most prominent parts of the model, and especially on your larger Tyranid creatures. Like, you know, this is going to really sort of make the armor stand out. And the really good thing about doing your Tyranids this way is you can batch paint this. You know, you could easily just get this one, do this, and then pick up the next one and do like 4 or 5 in a row, and it would be really quick and, you know, painless. Now, for one of the next highlights is Fire Dragon Bright, and again, this is not the best color. But I don't mind Fire Dragon Bright. It's not too bad. And you're really wanting to make these really small dashes to the edges of the armor plates. And you're really sort of just kind of creating that real sort of edge highlight now. But it's not like an edge highlight. You're just wanting to pull those lines to the edge, and it'll sort of create that sort of highlight and really make the armor panels really start to jump out now. And the final highlight, which we're going to do very shortly, will really push that to the next level, which is going to be some Tau Ochre, which is a brilliant color for when it comes to highlighting red. So as I said, Tau Ochre, really love this color. It's absolutely brilliant for doing red. And this is, you just really want to make this very, very small. The brush that I'm using is a size 1 from Rosemary CO series 33. It's got a really good point on it, and it's like I'm literally just using the tip of my brush and just like literally painting like little dashes on the edge of those armor panels, just to sort of really sort of define those little lines, and just work your way around, just being super careful, and if you make a mistake, just go back to your previous color and go over the top of it. Now for the skin, we're going back in with some Screamer Skull, and we're just thinning this down, and we're just sort of layering over the most raised, prominent areas of the flesh. Now, you don't need to do this. Like I said, the contrast paint over the Screamer Skull from the initial first 2 stages is enough to get it onto the table and make it look good. But this is kind of just sort of to bring that flesh areas up to the next stage and make it look a little bit better. So, you know, like high-end tabletop is basically, you know, what we're going for here. So just going around all the model, picking up the raised areas and the sharpest points and just picking those out. Again, it's completely optional, so don't worry too much about it. For the things like the tail and stuff, I just sort of concentrated the highlight to the upper parts of the tail and didn't really worry too much about the underside of it. Kept that nice and dark, and from the sort of shaded color, and it'll just look really good that way. And then just make sure you do the hands, and because the hands are a part of the gun, which is really weird, but that's a Tyranid for you. And then next you get some white. I use Vallejo model color white, and I mix this into the Screamer Skull, and it's about a 50-50 mix. And again, I just go around and I just pick out the most prominent points, the highest points on the top of the shoulders and things like that, and the sharpest sort of edges on the flesh tone. And again, this is entirely optional at this stage. You don't need to go this far, but if you really want to sort of push your highlights a little bit more and really make them stand out and pop, then you can do this. This didn't take too long. It took me about 4 or 5 minutes to do the entire miniature. So if you can imagine, like, time frame that you've got like 5 of these models like on your little holders in front of you, you could probably knock out a good handful of Tyranids pretty quickly. And obviously on the larger models you can really sort of make these highlights stand out a lot more and a lot more sharper. Now this is the little dots. So Kraken has these little spots all over, so all I'm using is Screamer Skeleton Horde, and it's not being thinned or anything. I'm just sort of like dotting it on the top of the shoulders and stuff. And here I am base coating all of the claws and the black areas with Corvus Black, because it's a nice sort of bluey grey black colour and it looks really, really good. And then once I've done that, what I'll do then is I'll just pick out all of the areas that I want to be like a little splash colour, and I use some Carbolite Green here as well. And I use like a little bit of white in both of these, the black and the green, just sort of just to push the highlights a little bit more. And that's it done. Then it's just a matter of getting it based and he's finished. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I've had a lot of fun making it. So please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Hey look, there's the other one. Hey, you've got 2. Like the video, drop a comment for what Hive Fleet you'd like to see me next. And if you want to have a check out some extra content, you can head over to my members area and join it, where you'll get a couple of extra videos. There's going to be 1 video a month going up. And yeah, and if you go at the sergeant level, I'll give you a shout out at the end, which is my amazing partner, Mrs. Pointy, who is my only sergeant level member. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.